Have you noticed that this show doesn't have any commercials? I'm not selling you diapers or vitamins or smoothies or gasoline. That's because I don't want any corporate sponsors telling me what I can investigate or what I can say. Instead, you are our sponsors. This is a production by our nonprofit, the Informed Consent Action Network. So if you want more investigations, if you want landmark legal wins, if you want hard-hitting news, if you want the truth, go to ICanDecide.org and donate now. All right, everyone, we ready?
Yeah! Let's do this.
Action. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are out there in the world. It's time for us all to step out into the high wire. Well, we had a great week at FreedomFest. An Inconvenient Study won 2 awards while we were there, while we're also celebrating freedom with all the people there. I got to be the judge in the mock trial on ICE. Well, you know what? I think we had cameras there. Take a look at this. We are at FreedomFest 2026. It's all about thinking independent. We screened our film, An Inconvenient Study, at the film festival inside here at FreedomFest. What you're about to see is one of the most important stories I've ever told. It's a story of a top infectious disease expert, a study that might have never seen the light of day, and shocking data that could change everything we think we know about childhood health.
The thing that shocked me the most was that there was a physician and a hospital system that had all of this data, and they weren't publishing it freely.
It's an incredible film. Even as much as I know about this topic, I have a lot of emotional reactions.
It really angered me to see the cowardice in our medical scientific community.
I'm the mom of a vaccine-injured child. That was very emotional for me. I was being screamed at by nurses that I was a bad mom and I was doing everything wrong, when the reality is the product that was injected into my child had been what did the damage. I'm not surprised that such a study exists that they have silenced. I actually was a research study manager at Pfizer, and anytime we came across something that was actually helpful, they actually would kill the study.
If I'm going to share one thing with somebody, this is it.
Del Bigtree, Jen Sherry Perry, and Chris Armstrong, the director, come up.
It's impossible not to see what's going on. I think it's a really important film, and we're really proud of it.
I want to thank all of you for the film. This is the 3rd time I've seen it.
We really want to make sure that everybody understands this topic. It's very complex. I think we achieve that. It's meeting everybody at the level that they're at.
I'm a nurse practitioner. I was trained in the 70s. I wish I had had that. You are heroes.
If we could fix this, we can fix anything. I want to thank Freedom Festival for taking the risk and not kicking us out of this festival. I appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody.
I love this event. I love the fact that the people here don't all agree on everything. I was the judge on the mock trial about ICE. Actually, a really amazing debate.
He is the host of the High Wire, a fine program. Your judge for the mock trial, Judge Del Bigtree.
Surveys show that the vast majority of Americans favor stopping illegal border crossings and improving border security. However, Americans are split. It's different minds coming together that believe that they have the right to free speech, that they have the right to debate, and that we should be talking more and more.
Happy birthday, America!
Later this evening is the award ceremony for Anthem Film Festival. Let's see what happens tonight.
Shall we get to it? Best Investigative Journalism. The first one goes to Del Bigtree for An Inconvenient Study.
I want to thank Anthem for taking on our film. This is one of the most censored issues in the world. To every filmmaker that's in here telling the stories that the world needs to know, keep it up. Thank you.
What's happening right now?
All right, hey, we are packed like sardines.
We were hungry.
We needed to eat.
So we already won this, and I think we're going to win another one.
And there was a hint that we might win an audience prize or something like that at the banquet.
We're going to be late to our own party, y'all.
So we're going to start with the audience choice. And this goes to a film that hopefully will make a true difference. It goes to Del Bigtree for An Inconvenient Study.
I want to thank my team, Chris, Jordan, Jen. If not us, then who? And if not now, then when? Get serious, everyone. Game is on. Love you. I definitely want to thank FreedomFest. That's an event we go to every year. You should check it out. I think next year is their 20th anniversary. Amazing work that they're doing there, really expressing what it means to be free. And the types of things we need to fight for here in America. I want to thank Anthem Film Festival, first for having our film, but also for all the other great films that were there. It was amazing. Go to anthemfilmfestival.com and take a look at all those other documentaries and films that were there. Some really eye-opening material. Honestly, anyone could have won any category. Just really great stuff. So while we were fighting for freedom at Freedom Fest and talking about what the power of America is in the world, we also got to see over this last week what it's like to have a tragedy met with a socialist country. How well does it handle it? Well, I'm talking about the devastating earthquakes in Venezuela. If you were watching the news, then this is what you saw.
Heartbreak and devastation in Venezuela as two major earthquakes rocked the capital city of Caracas.
The first quake hit with a magnitude of 7.2. A second quake struck just 40 seconds later, registering 7.5.
The twin quakes were the strongest the country has experienced in more than a century.
Nearly 60,000 buildings were damaged or destroyed.
Rescue operations are continuing in Venezuela with tens of thousands of people still missing.
The police and government didn't help us. We pulled the bodies and survivors out ourselves, along with neighbors and volunteers. We dug through the rubble with our bare hands.
There are hardly any survivors now being found from under the rubble.
The USGS is predicting a staggering death toll.
Over 4,300 people.
The stench here is still overwhelming. It is a combination of smoke, debris, and death.
Search and rescue teams, including one from LA, are now on the ground helping to find the more than 70,000 people reported missing.
The images are astounding and the stories coming out of there. Some people saying that the government was just trying to bulldoze the sites and get rid of it while there was potentially bodies in there. I don't know how much of that is true, but what I do know is wherever there are situations like that, there are some friends of ours that charge right into the middle of it. I'm talking about, we've got never before seen footage from that. Steve Slepcevic, Byron Rodgers, and SRP. Here's what they saw when they got there.
All right. Well, we're pushing, finally, to our aircraft. Into a zone that is in some of the worst condition of most any place on the planet to try and save lives. Touchdown, Venezuela. Now it's time for the boys to get to work. Right now, we're going to a site that they say is the worst of the worst. You can just see the absolute damage and chaos everywhere.
I can't promise miracles. All I can promise is that I'm going to do everything I possibly can to make sure that we get to as many people as humanly possible. But last small percentage, we're in the severe, moderate to severe now. Okay, right. So that's all we have. It's like that little window is closing very fast.
There's word that some family members or some folks might be still in this wreckage.
She's pregnant and she's hypertensive. She has all the symptoms for preeclampsia. There's nothing that we can do yet. She has to go to the hospital.
You guys in there? Yeah, we just left one site. There were several bodies that we recovered, no live finds, and now we're off to the next building. Percentages are starting to drop hour by hour of the potential for finding life, but we're not quitting. We're working through the night. This is a nonstop effort.
We found 2 bodies. You did? So now we're gonna extract them. Set up like a rope system.
The husband has been working for 4 days to find them, and he finally found them.
This little girl's right inside that.
So we have a mom and 3 kids. You want to do very delicately how you move around the body. You don't want to dismember the body. I want us to be as a group. We look at it and then we decide how we move it.
Where's your hand?
Okay, I'm going to show you over here.
So right now he's confirming the placement of the child and seeing if he could extricate her, which is a difficult task because you're looking at an unstable structure, and what does he need to free her from the building?
And there's a process to respectfully handle the body, and it's the inevitable fact that happens in these situations. Okay, this is your window of opportunity. Just trust me, you went and looked at all the other buildings. This is the highest probability right now. Anywhere. Hey, Mike. Hey, Mike, over here. You need to move this body.
But right now we're in a transition from rescue to recovery, so we can have 24-hour work on piles, but there's so many of them that it's overwhelming.
Sí, 2 personas en el sótano. Okay. 2 people in the basement. Okay. In the base.
So let's go there. Let me explain something to you. This is how it works. There's no jurisdiction.
No.
It's saving lives.
Let's go.
So let's just walk in there.
Can you turn on your radio?
It's in God's hands. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for showing up in a big way.
Everybody's tired, everybody's aching. We've been here all day, all morning, all day, all night. This is where it counts. You're supposed to be a good player now. You're supposed to be a good person now.
Emotions are running high. It's been multiple days. People are seeing their family victims pulled out of the rubble. There was a massive fight breaking out between families and workers and all types of stuff here. But you know how to hold the space. So if you see something that can jeopardize what we're doing, then do
what I do.
Yeah, do what you do.
100%. They're the little pockets that everyone's digging for right now to try to grab the last few people we can before they demo this whole thing. The whole entire city smells like a graveyard. They're asking for a panic.
So.
So there may be someone alive coming out of this hole. This may be the last survivor that we find for this. That'd be right.
Thank you very much, guys. You're the best guys ever. Thank you. You do what you say you're gonna do. You inspire us. We never forget all you did for us. So thank you very much, man.
Wow. Well, I'm joined now by Steve Slepcevic and Byron Rodgers, our good friends, we're strategic response partners. I mean, amazing watching you guys at work. We really haven't had that deep an opportunity to be with you. Some cameras sharing in that experience, but you know, I went to Haiti when we were with the doctors when that earthquake happened. This reminded me of that, where the buildings just seemed to be dropped like pancakes on top of each other. Just describe, I mean, you go to a lot of things like this. This looked just devastating.
Yeah, this thing rocked us to our core. The wailing of a mom who got out, and then 3 days later, we got the baby out, and she wouldn't let go of the baby, the dead baby, and having one of the search and rescue team members, many of our guys are out of South Florida, pray over her with our nurse. There's just so many heart-wrenching moments, right, where
and I would say, you know, I haven't seen so many of these types of situations. I'm going to be completely honest with you. When we first arrived, you have to fight back the feeling of overwhelm, right? Your senses, just seeing the absolute obliteration of multiple cities, knowing that you can give everything you have and you're going to cover maybe 5%, like 2% of the actual equation. It was one of those situations where you have to just ask God, where do you want me to start? And then you just got to give your best and get to work, because there's so much work that needed to be done, and still there's so much work that has to be done. So, you know, when you start to try to understand the magnitude of the problem, and we worked through the night on multiple occasions, but knowing that we were leaving these sites and these people are watching us get in our vehicles, you know, some of the hardest moments, because that is their new reality. That is what they're dealing with right now.
When you've been in these situations all around the world, how helpful was the government and the system there? Is it designed? I mean, is anyone, I guess, designed to handle something like this? But would you say there's any difference? Should this have happened in America? What are the differences in dealing, in a foreign country like this?
I mean, looking at the fact that a lot of these buildings were built by the Chinese in exchange for oil and gas. The infrastructure of how it was built included foam inserts, styrofoam inserts, not enough rebar. The seismic load isn't there. The first earthquake I worked was 1994, when I got shook out of bed in LA during the Northridge quake. So seeing how poorly these buildings were built, that's one of the biggest failures when they talk about communism, right? And a communist system. But once you take that and you compound it on such a massive scale of an infrastructure that failed, this is a warning also for those in high-prone earthquake zones that, we think our buildings are earthquake-proof. There really is no such thing as earthquake-proof. If you have a good, large seismic earthquake, there's going to be a lot of buildings that are going to collapse because of systems and building components that fail. But the response was really poor. We had a big challenge of just getting in and being held back but I don't think they've ever dealt with something at this scale or had an infrastructure or an emergency response system. So really, it was 27 different search and rescue groups from all over the country working on the piles with the community, right? I mean, I've never eaten so much street food in my life. There's, daughters and sons, little kids bringing you coffee at 4:30 in the morning on top of the piles. They could fall through any holes. The building can collapse at any time. It was an extremely risky operation on every level.
Yeah, and I want to give a shout out to the Venezuelan people, because that's the truth. We were never hungry. We never didn't have coffee. We were brought in and we were allowed to stay at Daniela. You can see her and her mom. We were brought in to stay at their home. The people of Venezuela band together extremely just powerfully, and everyone worked together. It was such a strong community effort, and they kept us fed and watered and plussed up so that we could do the work we were there to get done.
I know you guys are
100%.
planning on heading back there. What are next steps? What is the next part of this? This doesn't end for them, as you said. This is their new reality. But what are the types of things that strategic response partners, what do you do in this stage? What's needed?
Yeah, this is where a lot of these search and rescue teams leave. And this is where the work actually really begins. When all the camera leaves, this is when we really, after the cameras leave, we go to work. We have 3 53-foot tractor trailers that are being loaded with medical supplies, respirators, because tuberculosis is broken out. A lot of people have respiratory issues right now.
Yeah.
The medical system's overloaded. We're also bringing in not only PPEs, gloves, boots, and also tents. There's thousands of people that are living literally on the streets in front of these buildings that still have buried victims in it. They have no place to go. They don't have a job, they don't have food, they don't have water. So bringing in these 4-person tents that run about $400, that keeps them off the ground so that when the rain's coming, it doesn't have their tent flooded with water, keeps them out of the mosquitoes, which are now carrying like dengue fever, typhoid, all the stuff that's coming with these diseases, and the rat infestation, because the sanitation system's just destroyed.
Right.
So that shipment's already on its way. It's being housed at one of our vendors, United Restoration, who's got a massive warehouse, and we have the logistics already out of Opelika aircraft on standby. So those are being loaded onto pallets and being shipped back in there. And we're going back in there because for us, we've created a critical path with a Christian organization to be able to get it through it And our nurses and our doctors, team of doctors originally from Venezuela, are still boots on the ground, are going to remain there for the duration of it. But our stuff is to do that heavy lift, because there's not enough of us out there to do this. And this is where it's so critical that everyone do what they can to really support these people and get them through the most difficult time of their life right now to get past this point.
I know one of the hardest things in these situations is to figure out what groups to donate to. I know you guys, I know you're in there, I know you're bringing medical supplies. So how do we donate to the work that you're doing? You said you've got a channel in, you're getting things in. What's the best way to donate to that work for everyone watching right now?
Well, as you know, we're extremely resourceful, right? We're pulling in all our resources, all our connections through our hospital networks. And the best way people can support us is to simply go to givesendgo.com/Venezuela. That's how they can donate. They could be their contribution. Even if they donate $400, that houses a family of 4, gets them off the street, keeps their kids and those that are surviving. Many of them lost their entire families, maybe a husband and wife, and just their kids are gone now, or vice versa. The kids are there with an aunt or an uncle, just trying to survive. That's where they're at right now in this moment.
GiveSendGo/Venezuela. I also know, Steve, Byron, you guys, you go in there on your own dime, you dive in, you're, putting all of your energy into this. So folks, let's take care of these guys that are charging in. They're really special. I remember the guys in Haiti that just dropped everything, ran in. They're the difference makers. When the rest of us, sit around having fundraisers and talking about it, you guys are the kind of people that just go in and make something happen. We'll stay in touch with you. All the best. Give our prayers to all the families you're in touch with out there, and thank you for the work that you do.
Thank you, Del. Thanks for having us. And thank you to your audience for being a big part of this.
Absolutely. All right, take care. All right, well, we have a really big show. We want to get deep into a topic that I think it's really becoming controversial, which is peptides. Are they good for you? Are they bad? Is there really such a thing as an easy way out? Can you lose weight without working out? We're going to get into all of those questions coming up. But first, it's time for the Jaxen Report. All right, Jeffrey, what's happening in America this week? Or in the world, I guess, for that matter.
Yeah. Well, yesterday the Senate Health Committee was buzzing with the nomination hearings for Trump's pick for CDC director. That's Dr. Erica Schwartz. But also alongside her, they had to pack another person in, Sean Kaufman. He's nominated for the Assistant Secretary for Preparedness and Response for HHS. That's the person responsible for BARDA and the countermeasures like the COVID vaccine during COVID pandemic for emergencies. So let's focus on him first, because he said something interesting. In that whole hearing, a big conversation is vaccine injury, especially COVID vaccine injury. Listen to what Kaufman had to say when questioned. Take a listen.
Okay. Earlier, I was asked by a senator, are the mRNA vaccines safe and effective? Absolutely. But you know what? I'm not going to put an asterisk because, and this is important, many millions and millions of people around the world took those vaccines and did not suffer. But I cannot sit here and forget the ones that did. With any medical intervention, there will always be adverse events, and it's insensitive, and it basically, it erodes trust. When we choose to write them off, when we choose to fail to acknowledge that they have legitimate issues. And so though I believe vaccines are safe and effective, I think it's important, if I'm going to serve the American population, that all of those individuals are recognized, treated with compassion, and acknowledged.
So, that statement in many ways is similar to what I would try to work with Bobby to say. Look, I know we get triggered when he says that mRNA vaccines are safe, but really in this regulatory space, what you really want to hear is we recognize vaccine injury is happening, and we're going to take care of those people and do something about it. If you have that mindset, certainly that's going to open a door to how many exactly, right? It seems like it's a step in the right direction, though probably not the, the giant, insurmountable change or that we're looking for.
Yeah, and Dr. Schwartz echoed the same. She said that mRNA technology, like the COVID vaccine, also safe and effective. But she then said something that hit really, really close to home for our audience here at ICANN and Highwire. Take a listen to this.
All right.
Dr. Schwartz, after your nomination, Secretary Kennedy's anti-vaccine ally, Aaron Siri, called you the queen of mandating vaccines during your time at the Coast Guard. And so what is your response to Aaron Siri and other anti-vaccine advocates criticizing you for supporting vaccine mandates?
Senator, I want to be the CDC director for all Americans. I don't want to be the CDC director just for Americans that believe in vaccines. I want to be the CDC director for Aaron Series and people that have concerns about vaccines. I approach this position with humility. I want to be a nation-centered CDC director. I want to make sure I understand why parents have vaccine hesitancy. As Sean mentioned, I don't want to ignore them. I don't want to dismiss them. I want to have an open conversation with them. I would love to have a conversation with Aaron Siri. I would love to understand his concerns about vaccines. I would love to have an open and transparent debate. And that's the kind of CDC director that I would like to be.
The reason parents are hesitant is the skyrocketing rate of chronic disease that seems to be being brought on by vaccines. Hopefully, that curiosity and her desire to debate people like Aaron Siri will lead to some change. I hope so. I mean, it's what we got, right? These are the types of people that can get confirmed now, I guess, is what we're dealing with.
Yeah, and I have to say, the fact that Aaron Siri's name, the lead attorney for ICANN, actually just was in there as a talking point and received not laughter or just ignoring, but actually received a thoughtful response by her. She said, I would willingly open debate him. I think that's a good sign. It's a good start. Will the debate happen? We'll see. But let's talk about real change that's happening, and that is HHS and RFK Jr., the secretary and the head of HHS. This is the Hill headline here. RFK Jr. plans COVID-19 vaccine injury list. Here's another headline. In compensation push, HHS gears up to draft COVID vaccine injury table. More like atonement push. But what are we talking about here? It's called the Unified Agenda. So this is the government's federal regulatory publication. So in there, this isn't Kennedy or HHS at a podium saying, well, we're going to change this, trust us. This is an actual publication by the government where HHS puts it in a public statement of formal intent to change the table, or in this case for the Countermeasures Injury Compensation Program, to create a table. So let's go to this unified agenda, and it says this. Proposed rule, it's going to establish a table there. And what about the table? It says the table will list and explain injuries that, based on compelling, reliable, valid medical and scientific evidence, are presumed to be caused by covered COVID-19 countermeasures, and set forth the time periods for which the onset of these injuries must occur after the administration or use of the covered COVID-19 countermeasures. So why is this important? Well, again, we have no table. So if you took the shot, COVID shot, you were injured, and you go online, it's an online process only. You're not calling someone at the Countermeasures Compensation Program to help you with a petition. You fill out a little box and you have to make the case. You don't get to choose from a table of already listed injuries that are known by the medical community. You have to make your case medically and scientifically that this shot hurt you. Well, how's that going? Let's look at HRSA that administers directly this Countermeasures Injury Compensation Program. That's the Health Resource and Service Administration. And here are the most recent numbers. You can see here a total of over 14,000 claims filed in this court for COVID-19 injuries, vaccine injuries. And you can see only 62, that's 62 claims compensated. This isn't a testament to how safe the COVID vaccines are. This is a testament to how failed this program is. And you can see on that chart, there's been so many that have been dismissed because they missed the deadline, which is 1 year after that shot goes in your arm. If you can't prove that, if HRSA doesn't get your application fast, you're out of the program. And it's an administrative process, so there's no court. You basically just get a thumbs up or a thumbs down. And right now, we're seeing myocarditis, you're seeing Guillain-Barré syndrome, you're seeing something called thrombotic thrombocytopenia syndrome, very painful syndrome. Those are the three things that have been compensated. But anything else, You have to basically create that table. So this vaccine injury list that Kennedy wants to create is going to be a huge help for anybody seeking compensation for their medical bills and really just finally some truth and reconciliation for the injuries and damage that have been caused by these shots, which it has happened. We know this, it has happened. Now, Kennedy has done other things as well. Just to add this in there, this is another headline here. HHS Secretary Kennedy signs COVID-19 emergency use authorization declaration terminations. A lot of people are saying, well, this takes away the liability exemptions. No, it really doesn't. What it does, it takes away all the EUAs, the emergency use authorizations that allow these vaccines to just get basically free rein to skate in and be used during the pandemic. So what this is going to do is put some onus and some pressure on the manufacturers already in a slumped COVID vaccine market. They're going to have now more pressure to get these regulatory approved. It's not just a rubber stamp anymore. So it's going to hurt the vaccine manufacturers more than it will anybody else. But now, one of the things, let's go back to this vaccine injury compensation table. Our attorneys at ICANN have been on this. So when you hear the Congresswoman during the hearings for Dr. Schwartz, for CDC director, saying Kennedy's anti-vaccine ally, not really. We've been at ICANN and Aaron Siri, we've been on HHS to change this table through multiple HHS secretaries. Here's our letter from 2024 directed at HHS Secretary Javier Becerra. We said this: on behalf of the Informed Consent Action Network, ICANN, we write with increasing concern regarding your continued failure to establish a COVID-19 vaccine injury countermeasures table, despite the passage of more than 3 years since the government's rollout of the COVID-19 vaccines. That was in 2024. But throughout the last 3 years, starting in 2023, through multiple lawsuits, through formal legal demands, ICANN has pushed on every government door we can to get this countermeasures program fixed. It's a broken program, and I can say to the government, I can say to Sean Kaufman if he gets in there and the CDC director, good luck on getting any Americans to trust a countermeasure, a vaccine, if there's a pandemic, when you have not fixed this program. No one will trust this moving forward. This has to be fixed right now.
Just for people to understand what this table means, I think it doesn't, in your usual court system, nothing like this exists, but in these no-fault court systems, which is the government realizes they forced you to take a product, they realize, just as was stated in that Senate hearing, some people are going to be injured, and this table says, we know the most common injuries that are happening, we recognize that the vaccine can cause these issues, so you're not starting at square one trying to prove that what's happening to you happened out of the blue and that the vaccine caused it, which is the situation you're in right now. You're coming with no evidence, there's no precedence. In a way, this box is the precedence that says, we recognize, oh, you have myocarditis, you're not going to have to fight that hard, we know that that's what caused. So prove to us you have myocarditis, that's all you have to do, and then we'll pay you out. So the longer that list is of all the things, the easier it is for these people to get through this process, to not be fighting to create science that doesn't exist. It's the accepted place in which you're going to get paid out. So the longer that list, the more thorough that list, the more people are going to get taken care of. So that's why it's important. For anyone that's wondering, how does this work? I hope that helps make sense.
Yeah, and so this is basically about the government's inclusion in health decisions. That's where it all started. And let's move to government's inclusion in educational decisions. This is a shocking story that came across our desk this week. Our entire team is just jaw-dropped by this. New York Post: parents face prison sentence for homeschooling after court accuses them of intellectual neglect. Well, let's go into this article. You're not going to believe this. It says a Sao Paulo criminal court ruled against Adaro and Lida Denardi, alleging they had failed to include programs on gender and sex education and tolerance and diversity in the curriculum for their daughters aged 15 and 11, the Alliance Defense Freedom International said. According to the legal group, the court also ruled that the parents failed to properly integrate their children into Brazilian culture, citing the girls' preference for religious and classical music over popular trap and sertanejo music. Isabella Montero, the defense attorney representing the family, said the judge made an ideological decision to convict them based largely on the older daughter's preference for sacred music over mainstream music that often features explicit lyrics. The Denardis told Fox News Digital they began homeschooling the girls in 2020 during the COVID-19 pandemic after realizing their schools were failing to give them a proper education. Lida said the girls' mother thrived in homeschooling and said that she decided to continue educating the girls at home. What a disaster. Prison sentence. you're facing a prison sentence because you didn't integrate your children and force them to listen to the popular music and give them tolerance and diversity and gender education. I don't know where this is going. But for the people saying, well, that's in Brazil, I mean, in America, it's very different here. Think about that case. Think about how the government was monitoring and what the charges were for those parents. And now let's flip this to the United States, particularly Connecticut, who just passed a homeschooling law. This was Connecticut's headline here. Governor signs, as Lamont, governor signs controversial homeschooling law. It says this: the law requires parents to submit annual forms disclosing their intent to educate their children at home, which feeds a state registry. The law also mandates a list of subjects to be taught at home, including reading, writing, math, geography, and history. So what happens if it's not to the liking of the government? It also goes on to say if a parent wants to withdraw his or her child from public school to begin homeschooling, the law also says that withdrawal can't occur until the school superintendent's office conducts a background check. Well, if you're out there in America and you're thinking about homeschooling your children, or if you are homeschooling your children, there is an organization that's been working for over 40 years defending homeschooling parents in the courts and in legislators. Homeschooling Legal Defense Association, they have this map here, and you can see the states with regulations. You have the blue ones have low regulations. So a lot of America there has low regulations for homeschooling, which is good. But then you go into the darker blue is moderate regulation. Then the reds you see on the East Coast here, high regulation. You can add Connecticut to that. And those are places where if you're going to homeschool your children, you may want to make sure all your boxes are checked or consider another state because you're going to have a lot of government intervention there.
Wow. I mean, I think back, I was homeschooled as a child. I remember my mom moved us to the mountains. She just said, I just wanted to take us out of sight, out of mind. Now you look, I guess that's, you know, what parents, we were in Colorado at the time. But I love that about this show, Jeffrey, that because we're an international show, you point out that story and people can say, oh, well, that's Brazil. And then you realize it's in our backyard. And what I keep saying is you're just seeing what this globalist authoritarian mindset wants for you, your family, your children. Just because they haven't gotten away with it in America yet doesn't mean it's right around the corner. And then you see susceptible leadership like Connecticut, and here it comes. But what, I mean, can you imagine? I think, what are they doing, 2 months in prison or something like that? I mean, it's not like they're not going away for years, right? It's
right. Yeah.
But
they're facing it right now.
Yeah, but I mean, for like your kids are playing classical piano, when they're not listening to rap, they're going to jail. I mean, absolutely crazy story. But speaking of stories, Jeffrey, we teased it last week. You've got a new show starting this week on the Highwire. Tell me about it.
Yeah, it's coming in hot. It's starting this Monday. We're going to be competing with the primetime slots here. So it's called The Download with Jeffery Jaxen.
Right.
Because everywhere I go, people just want the download. Give me the info, and that's what you're going to get Monday. Short, sweet downloads. Working all through the weekend here to launch this. We're moving fast on this to bring it to you as soon as possible. So you're going to see that. That's at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific. And that's going to be the slot every week on Mondays. We're going to be catching all the stories that, every week, though, we talk about stories for the Highwire here. And there's all these stories that fall on the cutting room floor, so to speak. And we're going to pick those back up. That is going to be the download. So check it out this Monday.
And all those things that you're always calling us. There's stuff happening over the weekend. There's stuff breaking now. Now we're going to get it. I love that you're bringing another touch point to the work that we do for people to tune in. So tune in to thehighwire.com this Monday, every Monday, 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern, for Jeffery Jaxen's Download. Amazing, Jeffrey. We're all very excited. Good luck with that.
All right. Thank you, Del.
All right. Cool. I'll catch you next week. All right. Well, every week, if you are just signed up to our mailing list, you get our legal update. And this week's legal update is one sort of an I told you so, as ICANN warned RSV vaccine for pregnant women may pose risk. We wrote to the government about this 3 years ago. ICANN sent a letter to members of FDA's vaccine committee warning of the dangers of Pfizer's RSV pregnancy vaccine, Breezvo. A recent study supports ICANN's position that those concerns were warranted. A recent study shows safety signals for pregnancy-associated hypertensive disorders, including gestational hypertension, premature rupture of membranes, PROM, and preterm PROM after receipt of the Breezvo vaccine. In fact, even though the study was sponsored by Pfizer, the study authors couldn't avoid stating that further epidemiological studies are needed to refine risk estimates. You can see there. You can look up those studies, and it's part of what we provide to you. This is what it is from the JAMA Network: sequential safety surveillance of RSV pre-F vaccination during pregnancy, early in the post-approval period. These are the types of things, by the way, that you're like, oh, what was that study Highwire talked about? I have a friend that's, going through pregnancy. Her doctors talked to her about this, and you're like, where is that study? Look, this is what we do. This I think is the best part of what we do. Not that we just talk about it. We put that study right in your hands. We put, in fact, every piece of evidence that we show you on this show at the end of the week. We call it the Highwire Protocol. Total transparency on the data that we're speaking about. All you have to do is sign up to the newsletter. So go down to the middle of the page if you're watching on the highwire.com. Go to the middle of the page where it says Brave, Bold News. Type in your email right there, and now all of a sudden you get the tools, the links, the videos, the photos, the studies right in your hands so that you can show your friends actual evidence of what we're talking about, not just because someone said so. And all of this work is made possible by those of you that donate to ICANN. So please, if you have not donated recently, we would love your assistance. We've got incredible lawsuits that are going on right now. In fact, the fight of our life is still going on with West Virginia. We've got the Amish case. So many of these cases looks like they are now aimed for the Supreme Court because we've got activist judges now pushing back across the country. We want to help these cases move along in any way that ICANN can, and that is what you do when you donate. So become a recurring donor. You can go to ICANndecide.org and donate. Become a recurring donor. We're asking for $26 a month for 2026. For everyone that sponsors this work, I want to thank you. And if you're listening right now, you can text us at 72022 and then just type in the word donate, and I'll send you a text back. Make it really easy to become a part of the Informed Consent Action Network. This is what it is, right? We're a network. We're working together. We're making a difference in this world. Well, there's one of the things that we love to do is many of you write in all the time to the show, info@ICANndecide.org, and say, hey, why aren't you talking about peptides, or why aren't you talking about this or that? Well, peptides is a big conversation now, whether you're a transhumanist or a biohacker or a longevity expert, or you just feel like crap and want to feel better. You're seeing it on socials. This is the conversation we're all watching happen.
Peptides, everybody. That's what we're talking about.
Why was I so late to the game on peptides? Like, everybody's doing that?
This is my first morning trying peptides.
They've really become popular among wellness influencers, fitness gurus, celebs.
This is the newest thing that I've included into my routine. These two peptides have changed my life. Let's talk about it.
I mean, I'm a big fan of peptides. I've used them myself and use them with really good effect.
All right, this peptide just gotten completely out of hand at this point.
Peptides are dangerous.
There are some real legitimate concerns about the peptide craze that we're all caught up in right now.
People are using themselves as human guinea pigs.
The four of us have hundreds of peptides in our bodies right now that are helping our bodies to work naturally. Supposed to do naturally.
There's short chains of amino acids that serve like signals to the body to do certain things, like build muscle, perhaps heal tissue. Insulin's an example of a peptide. They are the P in GLP-1s like Ozempic.
Here's the problem. These systems that they signal, they're advertised as quick and targeted, but these systems are actually complex and nuanced, and that is where the risk comes into play.
That is a very, very dangerous thing to do because we don't know exactly what they're going to do to your body.
Some researchers have even expressed concern that cancer cell growth could be a possibility, but the reality is that we do not know the full extent of possible side effects.
A lot of these peptides you can just buy online and it'll say for research purposes. That's a red flag. Watch out for that. If it's not something that your doctor prescribes, if it's not something you're getting from a legit source, that's when we start to worry.
There's a gray market out there, and it's like the wild, wild west.
And the gray market is huge.
It's huge. You don't know what you're getting. Is it nothing? Is it something that's dangerous?
Well, we put out several videos this week asking for your questions that you have out there. We've refined them down to the questions that I have here. I'm going to ask some of those. My first guest that's going to be taking on some of those questions is Dr. Tyna Moore. She has really made a name for herself in this conversation, huge on social media, doing great work, and has people with amazing testimonials. If you haven't paid attention, here's Tyna Moore.
Dr. Tyna Moore.
Dr. Tyna Moore.
Dr. Tyna Moore is a distinguished naturopathic physician.
She's also the host of the Dr. Tyna podcast, which is one of the top health and wellness podcasts in the country.
She's also a naturopathic doctor, trained both ways, holistically and traditional medicine. And so she understands the full gamut.
I have been in medicine for nearly 30 years. My background is in regenerative medicine. I help people rebuild their joints naturally with natural substances, stem cells, PRP. Been doing that for a long, long time. But it's not just about shooting fancy substances into people's joints. You have to get the person into a healing state first. So you need them optimized so that they want to heal. So that means hormones, that means nutrition, that means lifestyle. It's far more important that you get the person in an optimized state so that they want to heal. People want to say, oh, it's this, or there's this magic bullet, or there's this magic shot, or there's this magic whatever it is. And it's not. It's the work. You have to put the work in every day.
Yep.
And you have to optimize your wellness the best you can. I'm just trying to help them untangle it.
Well, it's my honor and pleasure to be joined by Dr. Tyna Moore.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks for coming into the High Wire and joining us for this really important conversation.
Oh, I'm honored. You guys are heroes. So thank you for the work you're doing.
Thank you. Let's just start this conversation out with what is a peptide?
A peptide is a string of amino acids. And so, and they are bonded together with a peptide bond. And basically a string of peptides in kindergarten terms would be a protein. So our whole body is made up of proteins, which when you break that down is made up of peptides and amino acids. Really basic.
And so it's a naturally occurring phenomenon in my body?
For the most part, yes. Some of these peptides that are popularized right now have been tweaked a little bit. We can talk about that too, but yes.
All right, great. Well, let me bring on someone to help you out with this conversation.
Okay.
Dr. Jim LaValle has been at this for a long time, a guru out there. Amongst the biohackers that I know, this guy is held up on a pedestal. This is Dr. LaValle.
This is Jim LaValle.
Jim LaValle.
Mr. Jim LaValle.
He is a longtime clinical pharmacist, clinical nutritionist, and the chief science officer for Lifetime.
And you're also the co-chair of one of the biggest societies in the world where doctors get together and study longevity medicine, the American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine.
You are on kind of the Mount Rushmore of our industry in so many ways.
I've been in this area of personalized medicine, precision health since 1984. You know, everything from metabolic syndrome, diabetes, prediabetes.
I work with athletes in all 5 major league sports to have them at optimal performance. And then I have people that are in trouble, so people with autoimmune disorders, or people that are going through oncology, or people that have metabolic syndrome.
I research fixing people's metabolism.
Okay.
Assessing labs, or whether it's looking at nutrients or peptides or bioidentical hormones.
Look, I know your age, you're 60 plus. I also saw a picture of you without your shirt on. I saw you, you are ripped. You're in great shape. You walk your talk.
That's right. People deserve vitality at every stage in life. Whether you're an 8-year-old or an 80-year-old, you should be able to feel the best you can.
All right, Jim, thank you for joining us today. I really appreciate it.
Sure.
Start out with you. I mean, when you work with athletes, these guys always seem to be at the cutting edge of health. I think because they're in perpetual pain, they're pushing their bodies to another level. I think they're willing to also take some risks, right? So my question is, how long have peptides been here? Like, we're hearing it now, but how far back does this go? How long have we been, delivering peptides?
I mean, insulin was the first peptide, so that's 100 years ago, right?
Right.
In terms of the athletic performance, probably Eastern Europe in the Olympics in the 50s, 60s.
So there are times where peptides are illegal. Are they the type of things that would be illegal, like enhancing, performance, things like that?
They're performance-enhancing drugs and can't be used by professional athletes. So right now, peptides are not allowed to be used with athletes that are being tested.
Oh, really? That's fascinating.
Yeah.
I did not realize that. So as natural as we want to say they are, they're boosting your abilities on some level.
Yeah, I think you have to think about maybe boosting the ability to heal so that someone is able to recover from an injury quicker.
Right.
So, may not be a bad thing to be able to improve your healing capacity, but at the same time, you got to follow the rules.
It's interesting because I think about Lance Armstrong was such a big story around that, right? Just how much oxygen you can get in your blood, where's it coming from, how are you getting that? It's about recovery, right? Can I, ride up a mountain and then the next day be ready to ride up another mountain, I guess. So we want these abilities. And so if we're not athletes, then Is there anything wrong with boosting these? One of the questions here, I'm just going to start right here. Are peptides part of a transhumanism agenda? I'll throw you a big.
You went to a big one.
I'm going to jump right at a big one here, because that's the question, right? Am I enhancing myself? Is that a good thing? What is it? What would you say to that? Is it transhumanism?
I don't think so. I think that we're trying to optimize systems and age well at the end of the day. And so the term longevity gets thrown around a lot, but I think at the end of the day, we're all aging. We all are feeling it. And so we as physicians and clinicians are looking for ways to help folks sort of not necessarily get an edge. I predominantly work with people who are active and fit and take good care of themselves. And that's, I think, where peptides perform best, is in people who are already sort of optimizing and doing all the things. But I'm not trying to create a superhuman. I'm trying to get people to get their aches and pains to go away so they can get moving again.
How about you?
I got to agree. I mean, I think that peptides, we make them. And as we get older, or we get damaged, or we get exposed to something, sometimes we derail our ability to make that peptide. And if we can reharness that, like create a bridge back to homeostasis, normal health, good metabolism, we get to age gracefully. I think peptides in certain circles are looked at as, oh yeah, that's a part of transhumanism, man. We're out to optimize. We're going to live to 180.
Yeah.
Right, all that.
Right.
And I think the people that have been in it for a while and are using it responsibly, healthcare providers, I think they're more interested in just, how do we get people to feel better? How do we get them to have less pain, have more vitality, enjoy their life better, and not necessarily that goal of, like what Dr. Tina said, the superhuman.
Right. Then let's get to, I think the peptide that's obviously put this thing at the center of the map, both in its success, but also being a target discussions of dangers. We're talking about, of course, GLP-1s, Ozempic, these products that are out there. To begin with, what is a GLP-1? What does that stand for?
It is a peptide that our body makes in our gut and in our brain, and we have receptors all over our body. And it is designed in our bodies to have a very short half-life, so it's created and it's out of the system very quickly. I think ultimately it has a lot to do with digestion and appetite, so slowing down digestion a little bit, going in the brain and telling us we're full, don't eat anymore. It's been harnessed and tweaked a little bit in the medication form so that it has a longer half-life of somewhere near 5 to 7 days. And now people can use them to hopefully deal with the disease of obesity, which I think that's the big argument, is a lot of people don't believe there's a disease of obesity, and that can be argued.
Do you use GLP-1s with some of your clients?
Absolutely.
Okay, how do you go about using it? Is there a way to do it? Is there a right way and a wrong way?
Sure. I think the way that medicine came out of the gate with it for not people that weren't people with diabetes but had obesity, high dose, which created high side effect profile. A lot of nausea, gastric distress, vomiting, right? Dehydration, because people wouldn't drink enough, they wouldn't eat enough, they'd lose muscle mass. What we've been teaching for the last 5 years at the International Peptide Society, American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine, is for healthcare providers to understand how to titrate the dose and get to the minimum effective dose to kind of correct the chemistry of, I have an appetite hunger signal they can't turn off, right? Mm-hmm. So people are eating too much, too often, too late, picking the wrong foods. And so you titrate that dose, and then also you have to look at what else is going on. So, do you have high stress hormones? What are your sex hormones like? Where's your gut health like? Do you have any kind of inflammatory processes that are going on? Because if all we do is rely on the drug, yes, you go off the drug, guess what's going to happen? You're going to gain your weight back because you never corrected what was going on. So for us, we have a definite method that we teach and certification that we teach. I've applied it at Lifetime, and we're pretty happy about the success we're getting, and so that people aren't dependent on it. That's the other piece. Do you have to be dependent on this the rest of your life? And I would hope we could teach people that they can take control of their metabolism.
Then let me get a little bit deeper into that. One of the questions from our audience is, do peptides need to be taken indefinitely to maintain their effects?
I don't think so. I think if you are relying on the peptide completely, so what Jim and I are talking about are almost two different beasts of application. We're talking very low dosages while the patient's doing all the things. They're optimizing their health in a myriad of other ways through lifestyle, strength training, taking good care of themselves, eating, nutritionally dense foods. It also helps rewire the brain as almost a window of opportunity, the GLP-1s do. And so there's a way, I believe, for people to harness that and use that and to completely overhaul their life. Those people might be able to go off. And if we're using really low doses, if we can keep them low, I think the better a patient is about lifestyle, the lower the dose can be. The people who are relying on them as monotherapy, that's the only thing they're doing, and they're taking incredibly high doses, I think those people are going to be stuck on them for the rest of their life. And I also think it depends on how far along in the disease of obesity they are. I'm not one to judge. I'm there to try to get them to do all the things in conjunction with. It's a tool in a toolbox.
Well, I mean, both of you are describing these really fit people that work out, do a lot of things, whether they're biohackers, longevity people. But let's be honest, the billions of dollars being made by GLP-1s are not being taken by those individuals. We are, and so when we've done a lot of reporting on the negative side of it. That's why I'm here. I mean, really been focused on the negative. I think we have some of the headlines, but you've got, paralysis of the stomach. They took blockbuster drugs for weight loss and diabetes. Now their stomachs are paralyzed. I think there's lawsuits on that. There's also lawsuits, Ozempic linked to rare vision loss, risk confirmed in study. And then we see Robert Kennedy Jr. and Dr. Oz, making them more available to everybody, to making them, which I'll be honest, when I was with Robert Kennedy Jr. as he was running his campaign, we were both against GLP-1s, and people kept coming to him saying, if you're going to make America healthy again, you have got to handle the obesity epidemic, and you want Donald Trump to see results, right? He was like, Trump said, you have 2 years to change the health of America. Let me see it. Let me see you can do it. And everyone's, Bobby, you better get with GLP-1s. We will see that change. We'll see diabetes come down. We'll see weight come down. So where is this balance? I mean, America, we have the biggest, I think we have the biggest problem with obesity in the world.
Yeah.
So how should we talk about that issue? Is it a complete lifestyle change, or how many people are just using this as the only tool they're using?
Well, you've got right now, I think at one point, 18% of the population was using GLP-1s. I think right now it's at 13%.
Okay.
And look, you have 50% of the U.S. population is either insulin resistant or a person with diabetes.
That's crazy.
You have over 70% are overweight, and we have by 2030, over 50% of the population will be obese. So the first step is, it's great when someone wants to take care of themselves. Like, we're advocates for that. I think we're living proof that we believe in it, that people should take care of themselves. The biggest problem that I see is that when people rely on a medication, so a person with type 2 diabetes, my whole family, Italian family, father was a diabetic, got a lot of people with diabetes in my family. And you don't do correct education about, well, what is your disease? How can you manage it? And do you understand where you're going if you don't manage it? And then we rely on a medication to take care of all of it. And of course, the stronger the drug, the higher the dose, the more the side effects that come up. We're seeing bone loss now, even scurvy, right?
Wow.
Scurvy. And that's because the medication shuts down appetite strongly. And if you're not instructed how to eat, how much to eat, what you should be doing, yes, bone loss, loss of menstrual cycle, scurvy, right? All these types of things. Big loss of muscle mass. 25 to 38% of your weight loss will be lean mass. So that's a big deal.
When you have a patient that comes in, they express the sort of dangerous side of it. What do you say to them, and how do we get around that?
I educate them, and to me, it's not first line. It might be if they really need a leg up, because it often gets people moving, because it has such an anti-inflammatory impact that people will start to feel better immediately, and they're like, I want to go for a walk, I want to get moving. My goal is always to get people moving, period.
That's one of the things that I think about. Like, I have some friends, people that are close to me, that you watch, and if you have so much weight to lose, weight loss you know, 50 pounds is great. You know, I lose 50 pounds, like, you know, it's visible. But I think how hard it is for people that are on a multi-year to keep that energy going. Is there a way to just see dramatic weight loss to get to a body to say, I love this, and then train other things you're going to do to maintain this? Is that all the way forward here?
I do it in conjunction. And so we work along. It takes me about 9 months, I would say, to get people really kind of on the program of doing all the things. But it's a matter of, we start with walking. We start with what movement they can do. Maybe we get them in a pool. They have to participate, because that muscle loss statistic, that's lean mass loss, and muscle's actually only about 50% of that lean mass total. So it's not as terrible. This 40% muscle loss it's not 40% muscle loss. It's 40% lean mass, of which 50% is muscle.
Okay.
So we got to get that clear. But yeah, it's real. And if you lose your muscle on the journey of losing all the fat, you're going, which is the same that occurs with any caloric restriction, though. I want to be clear. Any kind of diet that someone takes on, even if it's bariatric surgery, same kind of mass loss and muscle loss. At the end of that, they're going to be...
Is that right?
Yes.
So it's really just...
It's weight loss. Too fast, too aggressively.
Okay.
They're dosing them too high, too fast, too hard. That's been my argument. I'm a big fan of low dose and getting them, and then they have to earn the rest, right? We don't increase the dose if they're not going to the gym. I'm a stickler about it. But at the end of the day, if they lose all that muscle mass, they lose all the weight, they're so happy, they're going to be metabolically devastated at the end of that. And I think that's where we're seeing a lot of this regain.
Okay, and there's a question here. It seems like retatrutide. Those, I don't know why those letters are so hard to say. Is gaining popularity. Retatrutide is gaining popularity. Is this another form of a GLP-1, and what do you think about it? Are you using it yet?
Well, it's not an approved drug yet. So Lilly is in, I think, phase 3A trials that they've published. I think it's going to be approved soon. A lot of research peptides, they're out on the market. That research use only gray market has those available, but it's not on the market yet. So for our clinics that I'm either educating on or the ones that I'm involved with, we don't use retatrutide because it's a research use only compound.
What are you hopeful about when you look at, I mean, are there some advantages to it if it does what it says it does? What does it say it does?
It's known as a triple agonist, so it's a triple GLP-1. So what it does is it defats the liver better and helps with reducing accumulation of fat in the liver, which, you know, more people are going to need a liver transplant due to fatty liver than due to hepatitis. So this is a big problem.
Yeah.
And so for retatrutide, it helps with access to fat, to be able to burn it more efficiently, as well as not to store it or accumulate it. So it has that extra action that the other previous generations of the GLP-1s didn't have.
Are you excited for the advancement in this technology?
Two things. I think for folks who fit a certain phenotype, it's going to be miraculous. It's going to be life-changing, because he's so right. The fatty liver epidemic we have had for decades, and it is very concerning. It leads to liver cancer. I mean, at the end of the day, and the need for transplants. The part that I am concerned about is the weight loss is really aggressive, and the studies on weight regain are showing that the more aggressive and fast the weight loss, these newer, the semaglutide, tirzepatide, and retatrutide, we don't have the data on the retatrutide yet, the more severe the weight regain when people discontinue them. And so I am worried that there's people leaning on doing, and I don't mean to disrespect anyone, but I know a lot of people on GLP-1s who aren't really doing all the things. They're not working out, they're not taking good care of themselves, and it's stopping working. It's losing efficacy, and so they're sort of waiting for retatrutide to come out, the next best thing to keep the weight loss going. That concerns me, because that's just going to be one thing after another.
I had my team put together just what are sort of the hot peptides. I think do we have this slide I can bring up, because I want to just ask you guys about it. FDA approved and not FDA approved. What is BPC 157? What does this do?
Body protection compound 157. So the couple big areas. One is it was found in your gastric juice in the stomach, and what it does is it protects the mucosal barrier of your gut lining. So it's been used by healthcare providers in the past when it was allowed to be written for as a compounded prescription by physicians and made in a compounding pharmacy for human use. This is where the big controversy is at.
Okay.
So BPC 157, why did everybody run to it? If you can ask orthopedic surgeons that got into doing it, it seemed to help people heal quicker from injuries and surgeries, as well as to help people to repair their mucosal barrier. And there's other things that it's also been shown to do, but those are the two big ones. And of course, a lot of people with gut permeability problems these days, where they need to work on healing that gut lining to reduce the, kind of the immune effect of that permeability of the gut. So those are the two big areas.
So actually, you think it helps with leaky gut?
Absolutely, it helps to, without a doubt, it helps to rebuild the mucosal barrier.
Because that seems like
the
the issue.
mucosal barrier.
From the work that I do, then with autism and all the autoimmune diseases, it's such that gut dysbiosis is such a major problem for so many people.
It's huge.
Yes, without a doubt.
And so that can help. All right, let's look at the next one here on the list, TB 500.
TB 500 is a fragment of I think of it more as an immunogenic peptide, but it's also a regenerative peptide. And so I do combos. My background's in regenerative medicine, so I liked to use them when they were legal to compound injectable, so that we could, help people overcome shoulder injuries.
Industries where you were using something that was there and it's been taken away.
Yes.
What is that like? I mean,
it was devastating. It was devastating because but again, it's a tool in a tool belt, right? And so I did fine without them, and then they came on board, and I'm like, this is amazing. We have another tool to add to the tool belt, but we didn't take anything away. It's still the way I've been practicing for 20 years. I just have something better. And these peptides work better and best, I have found, in those folks who are already metabolically optimized. So people who are kind of already doing the work.
You keep saying, if you're doing work, this takes you next level.
Well, they land, and we need muscle for things to land. We need that metabolic spark to be activated for things to actually work. Otherwise, we're dumping a bunch of expensive injectables into a system that isn't going to do much with it. I think
you were saying you were using this in combo to do what? For what type of person?
Generally regenerate joints and tissues. So
achy joints, all those things. My hip, which is starting to bother me. I'm realizing after I ski, I'm like, that's been like a month. I'm still jacked.
Or acute injuries. I busted my shoulder the other day, and I had somewhere to be, and so I'm able to go ahead and treat myself. And so it's when it works, and when it doesn't work,
it doesn't work. Does it just make it feel better, or does it actually heal it? Like, is it healing? Is it making me grow cartilage or something? What's it doing?
I think it induces what ability your body has to go. That's why I say it works best in people who are already metabolically healthy, because their bodies are already geared to heal. If you're not geared to heal, what are we doing? Asking your body to do something it's not doing well. So yes, I think so. I think it helps induce it. We get some anti-inflammatory benefits. We get some improved healing benefits at the end of the day. And I don't promise anybody miracles, and I don't think it works for everyone, but when it does, it does. Some of the chronic issues I found it not to be so effective with. When people have really long-term osteoarthritic conditions, maybe not.
Okay, let's look at the next list. CJC 1295.
All right. So CJC.
I'm testing you guys.
We got this. So CJC 1295, basically a growth hormone secretagogue. So basically, either as you age or you get under a lot of stress, right? Get under a lot of stress, you stop making growth hormone releasing hormone. Well, why is that important? Well, you get more catabolic. Without growth hormone, you don't make muscle, you don't lay muscle down nearly as effectively. And so CJC 1295 really made it big, honestly. That was where the performance enhancement took place. The bodybuilding community, the bro science, the folks trying to enhance performance. That's where that really kind of started. But amazingly, this was one of the big popular compounds that when you were allowed to use it, when providers were allowed to write scripts for it, it was one of the most popular because people felt a difference in the way they looked, the way they performed, how they worked out. And of course, when you reboot growth hormone, yes, it's also important for circadian rhythm. So it would even help with sleep, because your body's releasing growth hormone in different phases during the course of the day and night, and it helped to reboot that process. So once again, important peptide. Millions of prescriptions, by the way, were written by healthcare providers before they were taken away. And so, I think we're at this great precipice that's going to happen this next week.
When you look at of course, I was just going to bring that up. We have Robert Kennedy Jr. He has said publicly, he was in our montage talking about he uses them. I know that, he's always open to trying things for his own health. There's going to be a huge discussion on that, maybe fast tracking or creating a system where these things aren't just logjam, but we really start taking a look at them, which I'm all about. I mean, that's what the NIH is there for. CDC, to me, is not to just stop everything. We should be advancing anything that really advances health. It should make it through faster with more thorough, investigation than anywhere else in the world. So do you ever put yourself in the shoes of when these things are taken away? Is there ever a time you go like, I might have done the same thing, or I see why they're doing that? Or is this just government control for the sake of control? Is the pharmaceutical industry behind it? Is there ever a reason something should be retracted by the government, or at least that you've seen? Either one of you.
You're going to go with me first? Okay. Well,
Sure.
I'm going to be there next week, so I'll be testifying. So
Okay.
I'm a part of the hearing. So I think we should have responsibility. I mean, the FDA's had a history of pulling drugs off the market that weren't safe. I think that you should track safety signals. You should look at where adverse events are at. But what we need now is to also have a way of categorizing those. If we're going to bring peptides back, which I'm going there to testify. I've written books on it. I'm an advocate. But we do need to be able to ensure safety. We have to be able to log the information when something does go wrong. But at the same time, all the information that's been collected so far is that they look like they're pretty safe on the ones that are on the nomination docket for right now.
Okay.
But I think that one of the biggest struggles we have is that we're still looking at these to cure a disease. And what we still haven't developed is how do we keep people well? So we have this chasm of where peptides, I think, have a lot of value is in that area of how do we keep you from moving farther down that funnel towards disease state?
Right.
And I think that's where there's a lot of, there's a lot of leeway that we've got to work through, right? But I'm all for more, things that work, help people to be healthier, as long as it's safe. Let's give them access. People have to have control over the destiny of their
I
health.
want to get deeper in this conversation. Let's get through this list I got myself stuck in. And people are like, I got to hear about the next one. Bring the list back up. Let's just rapid fire the rest of these. Ipamorelin, what is that? Leave it up there. I want to
Go
just
ahead.
quickly
It's in the same category as the CJC 1295, in my opinion. They often are prescribed together or even in the same vial. A little bit different impact on how growth hormone.
Okay.
To me, it's a body recomposition. It's not a muscle builder. It helps with body recomposition if you're working hard.
Right, next is GHK-CU.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's the supposedly the magical, make you look beautiful, make your skin glow, make everything great. I'm actually not a fan of it. I think it stings a lot when you inject it. I am not sure that I've seen really great results topically that everybody's raving about, and I think that loading somebody up on copper may not be the most awesome idea.
It's about copper.
So, but that's just me. Jim, you have a different opinion?
No, I think there's a variety of studies that would say, hey, it works great to improve collagen synthesis, and then maybe not so much. I think one of the interesting parts to it is it's also being used on kind of the longevity front, as it's somewhat of a gene regulator, keeping genes from turning on when they get under duress. You get exposed to environmental burden, pesticides, metals, et cetera. Or you have a protective effect on that gene expression. So, once again, that's why we need to have these discussions, because there's some human trials that say, hey, yes, it's good, but then at the same time, I agree with you, it stings.
It's a wild card. Yeah. People have immune reactions sometimes, so that one's a little bit of a wild card.
You keep bringing up the thought that I have, right? And I always think, I'm obviously, my focus is on vaccines, and sometimes I ask myself, would vaccines have the same side effects if they were being given to Adam and Eve? You know what I mean? In a perfectly healthy environment where you're drinking nothing but clean water, all of your food is pesticide, herbicide free. I mean, how much of what we're seeing in practice is sort of this disease burden that's just it's a toxic burden that's on us. And I think about this work. I think about this with biohackers and longevity. And are some of these things because our bodies are not acting the way that they should because of this toxic environment? Do you think some of your work could someone say, I'm trying to get my body back to what it should be doing?
That's 100% what I think, without a doubt. No, I think environmental burden has and all the other things, like ultra processed food, light pollution, you name it, right? We've got all these things we can check the list. It puts us out of a state of our body's natural intelligence to heal. Right. I believe we have a natural intelligence to heal.
Yeah.
Peptides help us to regain the signal to that natural intelligence to heal. So that's why I think they're important, is because they help people overcome that metabolic roadblock that not being in the, where Adam and Eve was at, right?
Right, right.
We aren't there. So therefore, how do we help people get over that hump in order to correct that metabolism, to get them back to the way your body should be able to heal?
I think, was it Bobby Kennedy said 70% of Americans can't pass the health test to get into the military. I mean, we are
We're in trouble.
We're in trouble.
And I think that we're dealing with a whole generation of adult young people who are vaccine injured. I mean, it's taking care of people is an uphill battle. You've been at this a lot longer than I have, but I've been in this a long time, since the early 90s, and it's gotten much harder to get people well. And so we need certain tools. I utilize GLP-1s to help people overcome severe autoimmune conditions, severe inflammatory conditions. I'm not just trying to get weight off of them. I'm trying to get their metabolic health dialed in such that, because your immune system and your metabolic health are two sides of the same coin. So I'm using it as a tool to control and regulate the metabolic health better while they're doing the work. And then we get some immune function stabilization there. And people can get a leg up. They can get moving. It's really disheartening to be doing everything right and you still feel like complete shit because of, because of the current environment and the toxic soup that we swim through every day.
I think that's where, I think my audience knows I'm really a natural person. I'll take vitamins on occasion, but even that, if I'm not feeling well, I'll take vitamins. The idea of I'm perpetually taking things as my stasis just doesn't make sense to me, but I do grapple with how toxic is the world that I'm in. And I'm decently healthy. I'm not chasing major chronic illness, but some of the most convincing testimonies I have been seeing on social media are these people that are really struggling with severe inflammation, mast cell stimulation, these types of things that are saying, these peptides have saved my life.
Yes.
Have you seen those inside of your clinic, that type of experience?
Absolutely. I mean, when we were allowed to use them, I had a guy that had a wreck on a personal watercraft. They were going to amputate his leg. And the family called and asked, hey, what do we think you could do? And he actually wrote a public comment that's going to be going into the public docket. Without those peptides, he was going to lose his leg. He's 3 years out. He's playing softball. They said he was never going to use his leg again if it did stay on his leg. That's powerful. And to what Tyna was talking about, the effect of them for immune regulation, which is really, why we end up aging fast, right? Inflammaging, right?
Yeah,
Inflammaging.
I think we're all. I was surprised. I've been tested like, Del, you have inflammation. I was like, I eat pretty good. So, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, is that a huge part of what you're doing?
Yeah, I think that most people, let's back up. 2018 data that was published in 2021 showed that roughly 96% plus of U.S. adults were cardiometabolically compromised.
Wow.
So we're just fighting. I understand that people have an aversion to GLP-1s, but I'm over here saying we have a tsunami. And the amount of just hip replacements that are coming down the line and dementia. I mean, on both sides, we've got autism rates here and we've got dementia crashing down over here. Yeah. And we're in the middle watching this happen and we're all aging and, I'm Gen X and we're like, okay, how do we slow the throttle on this? And so we can take care, I'm taking care of both sides of my family at this point. Yeah. So peptides are just a way to add to a system that you're already, you're putting in the work, you're taking good care of yourself. Maybe it's not working as well as it used to. What tools can we bring on board to really optimize things? And seeing shifts in rheumatoid arthritis and other debilitating conditions that we didn't have great tools for it before.
Yeah.
You know, and just to
something like I said to be incurable, really.
To get people moving again, and even if, you know, I have people messaging me, I have hundreds of thousands of followers who have messaged me about this since I started talking about GLP-1s, and we've got, you know, young mothers who are so morbidly obese they cannot go anywhere with their children, and they message me and say, I just went to Disneyland with my kids and I fit on the rides, and like I have a whole different lease on life, all the way over here to very thin women who were dealing with cardiovascular issues and, you know, autoimmune inflammatory issues, and they're microdosing and they're themselves again. They're okay. They're back at it. They're back in the gym. So again, I'm just trying to get everybody back in the gym. The good things happen there.
Whether it's peptides or exosomes or stem cells, the big issue I think is exemplified in this video I want you to watch.
The most official package I've ever seen. I've been speaking with a man who runs a company that tests peptides. That's based in Austin. So I'm going to send these to him and we'll see if they are what they claim to be.
A couple of weeks later, the results arrived.
Wow. Okay. The ipamorelin, there is 0 ipamorelin in it. 0% detected. What they have detected is arsenic and lead. The lab can't identify what it is. They just know it's not ipamorelin, which is what we thought we were buying. And people are getting this and injecting it.
The results brought home how unsafe grey market peptides can be.
All right, and that was a huge question that came in. What is the safest way to source peptides? Are there red flags people should watch for when buying them versus signs of, you know, reputable, legitimate sources? So how big an issue is this in this space?
The gray market is what took over when they restricted and took away the compounding for us. So what was fall of 2023, and there was not much fanfare. Usually we get sort of ahead. I know you're in this world with them, but I normally get to hear about like, hey, the FDA is starting to question whether we should allow these things for compounding anymore. That didn't happen. They were just gone one day. And so of course people go to the gray market.
So this is like the Dallas Buyers Club.
Yeah.
This is like take away what seemed to be working for a lot of people and what they were doing, and then you just drive this underground market.
Yeah, and what's the dangerous part, anything you inject in your body is considered a dangerous drug, even if it's vitamin B12. So to buy something that's injectable without proper safety policies and procedures through the lab that guarantee that it's safe when you inject it, it created nothing short of, in my eyes, a catastrophe. It's the opportunity to have adulterated, subtherapeutic, potentially dangerous and toxic materials going to buyers that are being influenced through social media to buy these products without supervision. And you don't hear about it in the media, I don't think, enough, but because of my role with the Peptide Society, being the chair, I would have physicians calling saying, I had 3 patients this week that ended up in the emergency room or ended up in my office with this event, adverse event of some sort, and they're on this this research peptide. What can I do? It's like, I don't even know what's in it. How do I know what to tell you if I don't even know what's in it? Because in this gray market, they really, when I first saw that come out in The Guardian, I was like, yes, please get out to everybody that's buying off the gray market. Please understand the risk that's involved in it. And it's because in the previous administration, and they just took them away overnight, and whether that was a move with pharma or not, whatever, the bottom line is when it went away, it showed how big the consumer demand was.
Wow.
Right? Because the consumer demand, hundreds of millions of dollars a month.
You said, injectable, you're injecting something. One of the big questions here, what's your view on oral peptide formulations versus injectables? What are the differences in effectiveness, absorption, and safety?
I think it depends on the peptide you're talking about and how big of a peptide it is, how many amino acid sequence. I think that BPC 157 orally is wonderful for inflamed guts, leaky gut. I prefer it over injectable. There's newer oral GLP-1s. Those are The data is looking pretty good as far as weight loss goes. Side effects are not great. People are not tolerating them well. I don't personally like them. I know Jim doesn't like them. At least I think I've heard you say that before. You're not a fan.
Right.
And that also in the oral form, you have to take a much higher dose to get through and get the effects. And so I'm just not a fan of what that's doing to the gut itself. But some of the peptides I don't think do much orally. I think some do. Some are sold as supplements. And some of them I even promote to my followers because I'm such a fan of what they do, but I think it's a mixed bag.
Okay. How about for you? Oral versus injected?
I think if it's under if it's 7 amino acids long or less, it doesn't break down, right? So kind of your stomach has these proteases that will work on bigger strings of peptides to break them down, right? So if it's under a certain amount, like KPV, 3 amino acids, great peptide to decrease inflammation, that'll survive. Also, new delivery systems are kind of coming out to help with, I think, oral delivery. Currently, when you look at the GLP-1s, I couldn't agree with what Dr. Tyna said more, is that a lot of people just get nauseous on them. They don't feel as good on them. It's not I don't think it's very effective. But I think, being a pharmacist and believing in, the ability to be elegant in the way we deliver things, I think there's some new technologies that will be out that are going to really help that. But once again, not all peptides are going to be effective orally, just bottom line. It just depends on the sequence, the length, and whether or not you're going to be able to get them across the gut or not.
What is the best way to source a peptide? If someone's watching this right now, what would you recommend so that they know that whatever they're getting is what they're getting, that is the safest form of it?
Well, I'm a licensed physician, so I can only tell you to get them from a compounding pharmacy. But we unfortunately have limitations on what we can access from there. I'm also a libertarian, and I'm a big fan of people being able to source their medicines that keep them going. But like that video showed, it's the Wild West, and I think the inmates are running the asylum. And so really doing your homework, I don't have good advice on that. I'm hoping this meeting next week changes things and we get some of these back, because I'm not a fan of people going to the gray market and self-sourcing and then self-injecting, and even just reconstituting a vial is like a whole math game.
Like
most people don't know.
You only need one mistake.
Oh, yeah.
You need one thing to go wrong.
Absolutely.
And, that's my experience with the vaccines. It only takes one.
Yep.
Could have tolerated all the rest. We don't know why. Bam, it was like the lottery.
Exactly.
Dose matters, right? Dose matters, and these people are not mathing right.
Right.
They don't know how to understand concentration, and you buy these, and they could be different concentrations that are in a powder, and they think, I'm going to put the same amount in it, and you're getting.
Can you overdose? Can you overdose on a peptide?
Oh, you certainly can. The GLP-1s that are being bought gray market. I remember seeing a post on a Facebook. I'm always looking at this. A woman had a needle pulled up, and it was for a GLP-1, and it said on it, "Is this the right dose?" As if the amount of units mattered, and it was, well, if we don't understand what the milligram strength is, there's no idea. But there's millions of people that are in that position, and this is, I think, why Secretary Kennedy is so passionate about working with getting peptides back on board, because trained healthcare professionals, licensed professionals, they can pull out that prescription pad, should be in charge of it, so that you can be watched. You can see that when you do an injectable, is it safe? Is it working for you? Do we need to change? And licensed pharmacies that make things for human use, following the FDA's rules for compounding, should be in charge of making it. And unfortunately, a lot of that's in flux right now, and it creates a situation where people are searching out whatever they can.
There's this question about cycling. I don't even know what this is like, to cycle through the different versions of a product, I guess. What does that mean?
It means you are on something for a period of time, and then you come off. And so when I think of like BPC 157, TB 500, we're doing a short cycle. I do a shorter cycle. It kind of depends on the person, but I'm trying to onboard them, load them up, titrate their tissues, get them healing, and then we remove it. You don't need to be on it forever. GLP-1, sometimes I'll cycle. It depends on how I'm using it. Usually I do, actually. And so it's a matter of like, how long are you on something? How long do you take? I think this comes from the bodybuilding world. I think they're the original biohackers, period. So they know this better than anyone, and they cycle anabolics, et cetera. So it's a matter of just, are you taking somebody through a period of time and then you remove it? so that you can reset.
It was really only tested for short periods of time, right? It wasn't like multi-year use. Have we seen studies on long-term usage of these products?
Well, I mean, there's a 4-year study on reducing cardiovascular risk that was pretty significant. That was in people with diabetes. So you have to remember, Ozempic was originally designed for people with diabetes, and it may be that they always need to be on that medication because if you have high blood sugars, you have high insulin, you are more prone for peripheral vascular disease, kidney disease, dementia, all the things related to being a person with diabetes. Now you move over to the obesity side or the people that's just having trouble getting weight off. That's a different situation where we don't really know yet what's going to happen with the long tail of this, right? But in terms of safety for type 2 diabetes, I think I would defend semaglutide and tirzepatide as showing that there's a reduced risk of colon cancer, about 50% less, 17.5% versus 35+% on or 37% on colon cancer reduction on people that are on GLP-1s versus not as people with type 2 diabetes because they have higher risks of GI cancers. So I do think some data is coming out showing that. But as always with a drug, there's always risk. You mentioned it at the beginning of the show, the issues with the eyes and other side effects that do come up, and we have to acknowledge that.
I mean, it seems like this is super fascinating, but I just sort of want to bring it together and what it really appears like anything else, it seems to me working with a licensed professional that is not just trying it on themselves this one time, but has seen, results in many different patients. What working is probably the safest way to go. We're going into the next week. The concept of regulations on this, deregulation, or however you look at it. What is the dream as you look into the future of what you've seen with peptides, the safety of it? What would you like to see come out of this meeting next week?
I'd like to see us get our prescription rights back on it. And I'd like to see the work Jim does through different organizations training physicians. I'd like to see more physicians learn how to use these appropriately in their practices. And I'd like to see, like I said, I think people deserve access at the end of the day. This shouldn't just be an elitist type of treatment. And so the more doctors that understand how to use it, the more, I hate to use the word regulation, but in some of these cases, regulation so that we have safety. And the more that it's available, I hope that will drive the price down. So I'm excited that RFK and Trump brought the prices down on GLP-1s. I was praying for that because I think, more people that can access, but we need more doctors being well trained on how to apply these effectively.
You're going in there next week. If 2 weeks from now, when you're laying in your bed, what gives you the yes? What is the goal?
The goal was for it to get through PCAT committee and they approve that these are worth moving out of category 2 back onto the prescription pad. We'll see what the final decision becomes after that. I think that there's a lot of healthcare professionals that have devoted a tremendous amount of time to get prepared for next week. So that we can show that, there's science on both sides of the fence. There's the naysayers that say, oh my God, they're terrible, we can't do them. And then there's the people that, oh my gosh, everybody should have access in every which way. Truth's in the middle. We need healthcare providers utilizing these responsibly, track the evidence, have real world evidence, show the benefit. And I think we'll be very happy with that. So from my end, is that we move this along, we get the right votes, and I think we're going to, I'm very optimistic.
Well, I want to thank you for coming in and discussing this
Thank
really
you.
important topic. I want you to stick around after the show. We'll have a quick conversation. One of these questions I didn't get to, is there snake venom in this stuff? Don't tell me. I want to find out. As I travel the world, I get to do a lot of great interviews. One of them was in concert with Lighthouse Productions in the Netherlands. This is just a piece of a great, great interview I did with Angus Dalgleish that is now being put out by Lighthouse. Take a look at this. What's the difference between a virus and a retrovirus, or is it, how do I think about that? What is a retrovirus?
Right. They're both viruses, but a retrovirus is an RNA virus that can program itself into your DNA. And this has very interesting implications for messenger RNA vax genes.
So a virus can't insert itself into your DNA, essentially, but a retrovirus can.
Yes, the normal RNA viruses, for instance, and airborne viruses are never going to do any damage to your DNA at all.
Okay.
But a retrovirus, when you get infected with that, it can do a reverse, hence the retro, insertion into your DNA and just sit there and stay there for a long time. And the first one was a leukemia virus, which is discovered to be in the Caribbean and Japan. And the second one was actually HIV, which I was in exactly the right place when HIV came along. And from my point of view, it fulfilled the association with cancer because it presented with rare lymphomas, Kaposi sarcoma, like they'd never seen, as well as infections, all features of its immune suppression. So the association with cancer was actually indirect as opposed to direct, which is what I set out to research. The other viruses that are associated with cancer in humans are all big DNA viruses that integrate any rate. And you have heard of these: Epstein-Barr virus, and which causes lymphoma, human papilloma virus with the cervix, human the HBV and CV, which are hepatitis viruses, which both can cause cancer. Now, in all these situations, it usually takes years and years and years before it emerges. So my interest is why.
That is an amazing interview being put out by Lighthouse right now. So if you want to watch the full interview, there's the bit.ly, there's the QR code. I want to thank Flavio Pasquino that runs Lighthouse TV. This guy's an animal, man, just doing great work, great media. The event in the Netherlands was fantastic. It was right after Guernsey, England. And speaking of Guernsey, England, I am heading back to England for CPAC this weekend. In fact, I'm running to a plane right now after the show. I'm going to be doing a panel, The Truth About COVID, Saturday morning at CPAC. I think you have to get a day pass if you want to check it out. But if you're anywhere in the London area, go get tickets at gb.cpac.org/#register, or I'm sure you could just show up and buy a ticket in person. But I have an amazing panel. And how cool is that to be at CPAC and having these types of conversations there? That's why I've decided to do it. Really looking forward to it. So if you're out there in England, I'd love to meet you in person. I'll stick around and say hi. And yes, I am wearing a hat to say we still have incredible merch. It's the summer. I don't wear suntan lotion, by the way. I haven't for years, even before. Back when I was reporting on suntan lotion at the Doctor's television show, I started wearing a hat instead. So we got hats, we got beach towels, all sorts of great stuff. And it's a conversation starter. And I love this logo anyway. I think that's pretty cool. But a hat, man, then I don't have to worry about suntan lotion on the old face. We keep the skin looking good. You get just enough that sun glow, the tan, but without really burning yourself. So go to the store and grab some merch. It's a great way to celebrate the work that we're doing and help us keep it all going. And I'll see a bunch of you in England. I'm heading to the airport right after I do an off the record. But let's just get down to basics here. There is so much work that needs to be done. There are conversations that need to be had. We're going to keep having them here. The questions you're asking, keep bringing those questions. There are other panels you want us to do. Let's do those panels. Let's get down to what makes it, easier for us to be healthy. What does it mean to make America healthy again? What does it mean to make the world healthy? How do we stay healthy? How do we get healthy? And what has to happen to our governments so that practitioners like these can do their work? I mean, I love an FDA. I want a regulatory agency. I want to know that things are safe. But are you spending hundreds of billions of dollars in there? Can't you just fast track the things that look like they're actually making us healthier? And then, as a part of that process, throw up a red flag if one of them isn't? It's not like just stopping everything down. It just feels like we're behind the ball in the world when we should be the leaders. We're supposed to be the leaders. That's what having the kind of funding that goes into our government, into our regulatory agencies. It's not to stop everything and shut it down or just work for the pharmaceutical industry. Work for the people. We got health issues out here. And it seems like there's solutions that are being blocked. Bobby, I'm talking to you. For the rest of you, I'll keep talking and I'll see you next week on The High Wire.